Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, I got a lot going on here. I have disassembled that new 844 to kind of check on some stuff. Basically just checking for wear. The wheels aren't too bad. The front set of drivers definitely has quite a bit of wear on them. Not terrible, but definitely some visible wear. All the little contact fingers are in pretty good shape, a little dirty. But everything is in really good shape overall. Basically going to clean up the drivers. I will have to do some paint work on the tires. As you guys can kind of see, some running damage done to the paint on there. Bad thing about a lot of these companies that do that, they just kind of do one light coat, and I feel like they probably don't pre-clean the surface good either. So a pre-clean surface and a couple coats makes those last a lot longer. I have my other 844 out, plus a couple of my other UP Northerns. These are all from the older runs with Tsunami 1. So these would have came without paint on the wheels. And I've showed these off before. Like I said, you guys probably have to look back quite a ways on my channel to find videos of these, but I do have videos of them up there. This particular 844 is actually that right there. The older Tsunami. This is, I think I got that, I don't know, somewhere around 2014, 2015, 2016. It's been quite a while ago that I got that. Probably around 2015, honestly, or 2014. I don't know, somewhere around there. But it's older. So we have the newer one with the shiny paint. Definitely a big difference. I can show you guys just on the tender here. The shinier paint versus the that kind of more matte paint. Like I said, I wish Athearn would have done the shiny version a long time ago. All of these should be done in the shiny version, but I get it. It kind of gives them a in-use look without any weathering or additional weathering. So they are what they are, but like I said, we're gonna do some cleaning work on this one, do some paint work on the wheels, get everything up and going. Something that I did go ahead and change is the speakers. So this is what was originally in there. It's kind of this neat like little mount, and then it's got the two smaller, more modern square speakers that you see in a lot of the newer Athearn stuff. And I'm not a huge fan of these in a steam locomotive. They're great for diesels, but the bell on the locomotive just didn't sound the best, and the whistle didn't sound the best, which is kind of odd for, you know, it's something, I guess not odd, but sad for something newer that should have better sound. Just didn't really have the best sound. So I actually went and installed a older set of speakers that these are the exact same speakers that are in these other locomotives, and all those have fantastic sound. So that's what we're using, and that using the older speakers, the sound is still really good in those. The whistle and the bell are much clearer, or much more clearer in there. So it was neat to kind of see the updates in the tender, though. A lot different from the technology that's in those older tenders. And then something that I thought was really cool was the plug in between the locomotive and tender. It's actually a double-sided plug cord here versus the hard-mounted plug cords on these older units. They're still pretty stubborn to plug in, but I thought that was kind of neat that this is just its own piece, and you can actually detach it from the locomotive and the tender. There's where it plugs into the locomotive, and then it plugs into the exact same place on the tender as it always has, right at the bottom of the front board. But other than that, just gonna add some details to this, clean it, service it, make sure everything's oiled well, running good, running smooth. When I tested it, it ran really good, really smooth, but definitely needs a little bit of work, just cleaning and checking over a few things. The gear on the power axle is in really good shape. No visible wear on the teeth, so that's really good. Tires aren't terrible. I really wish Athearn did these without the tires. I wish they were just a normal wheel face like those. But it is what it is. But yeah, so a little change out with the speakers. I am going to reuse these speakers in a diesel that I need some speakers in though, so these will definitely get put to good use, just not in this application, because I definitely prefer the two larger, older speakers. Just sounds a little bit more richer, a little bit more clear, in my opinion. And then something else that I've worked on in between time here is 4000. You can see it's all back together. New panel installed, everything works. And I'll actually power it up and show you guys here. Get the startup sequence. So she's got her sound back, really nice bright LEDs on this one. Those all work really good, everything works as it should. So that board was a good purchase for this. Do a little run up here. So that one is all back together, running good, sounds awesome. Turn that off. But yeah, everything's good on that. We got the weathered couplers, painted wheels, black painted right at the exhaust. Like I said, I'm not weathering that. I just want that to stay nice and clean. And it's not going to get PTC. I'm just going to leave that non-PTC on top, so that way it'll kind of match with my 4014 SD70 over there, even though that one does have a little extra GPS antenna or a dome. But you guys will see some stuff has changed. I kind of needed to make some room, so now I have a work mat over here on my shelf where I can set a bunch of my diesels out of the way. And then same thing with over here. I didn't really have a mat or foam that really fit that well, but I had some cardboard that I laid down there to kind of make some room for setting more locomotives. That way I have a little bit more, since I do have so much going on and I don't feel like putting every single thing away because I know I'm going to work on it. That kind of gives me some more flexibility out here on my work tracks. And then something else that we got in is the 8772. That is a, grab it here, another SD70 ACE for the collection. Another one in the 87 series. The other two that I have had in my collection for a while now, both of those are in the 87 series, or the 8000 series. So this one needs some upgrades. It is DC, and I'll show you guys here. So just normal DC startup, nothing too fancy there, but I do have a panel for that one. in my part stock here. So that'll be the next little project, is to get this DCC panel and a speaker, get that and a speaker mounted in this unit, and then that will be all ready with factory DCC and sound. So that'll be a pretty simple project. Basically just disassemble the locomotive. I am going to paint the wheels while I have it apart and take care of a few things. From what I could tell, it does not have the factory couplers on it, so somebody did change the couplers at some point. And the wheels do have some pretty decent wear on them, so I might even throw some new wheels on this just to make everything nice and new when it all goes back together. Make sure everything is oiled properly and make sure everything runs smooth. So that'll be our next little project in between all the steam stuff right now, because that'll be a pretty quick one. The hardest part's just going to be getting wheels painted for it and getting all that back together. But the panel swap out will be pretty easy. And then I have a few speakers in my parts here that I can choose from. I'll make sure to get the right speaker, because I do have a couple different sizes. And I can't remember, this should have a blanking plate in the mount for the speaker that I can just unscrew and pull out. Let's see if I can look through my parts here. I can't remember exactly where I had those, but I do have some. You guys can see in there, I actually have one mount with the speaker already in it, so I might just use that. But it's all pretty easy swappable stuff. Once I get that one apart, I'll probably bring you guys back and kind of show you the upgrading on that. It's really simple stuff, but it is pretty cool to see these disassembled. Just like with this locomotive, you guys can kind of see what the steamers kind of look like disassembled, not fully disassembled, because there's really no reason to do that. It is kind of harder if you want to drop the inner frame out and get the shell off. There are a couple covers on top that you have to remove, like the sand dome, and then this little piece right there. Both of those pull out, revealing screws. And then the hand railings on the back of the cab have to be disconnected. And that's really about it. But just getting those parts off safely without scratching them or marring them up can be kind of annoying. And then the screws themselves are pretty tiny, so you definitely have to have the right size screwdriver for some of that. And then, of course, you have to have the right tool. Little teeny socket wrench right there for getting all the bolts out for the connecting rods, getting the connecting rods off. But yeah, so you guys can kind of see what some of that looks like taken apart. The majority of the fun is in the tender. There's also these little cylindrical weights that slip over the post mounts. And just to get to that is, you kind of have to be careful. You have to pull off one of the water hatches and then pop out the fuel insert, whether it be coal or oil burner. So you guys can see there. And you have to access a screw there, and then that other screw is for the speaker mount. And then some of these older ones, the fronts of the tenders were glued on. This newer one did not have the front of the tender glued on, so that popped out nicely. Sometimes those can kind of be a pain in the butt if you got to carefully pry those out of the position, because they lock down right in these little slits right here. So a lot of little things. If you plan on taking one of these apart, there's a lot of little pieces that you have to make sure you take time to remove. The hand railings on the front of the tender have to be removed. Just removing some of this top stuff like the toolbox, those are all extremely easy breakable parts, so you definitely want to take care when you're removing those to get to the screws. But overall, they're not terrible to work on. They're not terrible to take apart. You just kind of have to take your time and make sure you understand exactly where all the screws are, what you have to remove, like what detail pieces you have to remove before you remove anything else, and stuff like that. But definitely happy to have 4,000 up and going. That's a nice addition to the collection, and looks that'll go great with my SD70M fleet that I have over here. So these, including this one, are all of my current running ones. I do have a few that aren't running their older Athearn Genesis, like the really old yellow and blue box. So not quite as detailed and nice as these, and a little bit more difficult to get like factory DCC and sound in, because the components and how things are held down, how the shells are held down, everything's a lot different from these newer versions. I kind of like these newer versions a lot better though, just for the overall the how the shells are screwed on, how the motor mounts are, how the tanks are mounted. So a lot of nice stuff on these newer versions, even though these have a couple years on them, but they're really nice and I really like them. They're fairly easy to work on. Like I said, as long as you know what to remove ahead of time, all this stuff's really easy to work on. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Just some updates there. Try to get some more stuff ready for the 844 here. Get some wheels ready, and yeah, that's about it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little update, and until next time, take care.